want you to see this. Allow me to be your eyes.
Freaks of the Vine, a controversial podcast answering tough questions regarding issues of the day from a practical biblical world view.
Welcome to the Freaks of the Vine. Oh, thank you. Got a special program for you tonight. To my right, a man that's identifying now as a black WNBA player.
You speak for yourself on that one.
Oh, sorry, to my left. That'd be you, Gage. What's he that's identifying now today, Kay? Are you?
I'm identifying as just being short.
Okay, fair enough. I was thinking about the elephant today. I think I'm going to be an elephant from now on. I'm just stating in this local zoo. Hi, this is Patrick, to my Freaks of the Vine co-host, Zach.
What's up?
Kay.
Hello.
And the engineer, Gage.
Hello.
And guys, we're tail end of 2022. And I thought about the song by the Grateful Dead. What a long, strange trip it's been. Strange last couple of years we've had since we started this podcast in October of 20. But nonetheless, we are well over 30-plus podcasts now with several of those as interviews. And we've had in-studio interviews and lots of fun. Lots of great times that we've had and only getting started.
That's right.
That's right.
And now you'll be able to hear us on Rumble as well soon. So Gage is working on that.
That's right.
What's the update on that, Gage?
Gage is working on it.
Excellent. Excellent update, Gage.
Yep.
Wow, from the hot off the press of Mr. Gage. So Rumble is just another avenue for us to extend out to, and it'll be good.
I think so too.
Better be. Not, you're fired.
Yeah.
You're fired. Well, as we end the 2022 year, I don't really like dating our podcast, but it is that. And we've had a few things to talk about tonight, but mainly wanted to jump into one topic for sure. And that is, as we celebrate this Christmas season, does it seem more and more that we get away from the subject of Christ being the reason for Christmas?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's pretty obvious everywhere you look, isn't it? And not only that, but like they're trying to remove the Christmas festivities from the Christmas season. Like Comedy Central has like an unholiday, like a Christmas movie special block for the next couple, like the 21 days, and it's like the unholiday movies because they want to make it to where like you can watch any movie during Christmas time and it'll be considered a Christmas movie. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
It's just total subtlety of just going, ignore everything around you and the capitalistic big red hat fat guy with a white, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like totally, it's not even a shot at Christ anymore. It's a shot at just the commercial Christmas season that we all know and love.
Yeah.
Well, and that's
how
something
does Jesus correlate with Santa? Well, that's a topic for another day. But,
Well, I think you hit that. We were talking about CBS running a couple. They have that show Ghost or Ghosts.
Ghost Miss, maybe?
And they have the Ghost Miss episode. So they're actual
A show called Ghost?
Yeah, it's a house filled with people who have previously died.
Right.
And but they're doing their Christmas special and they just call it a Ghost Miss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they have there's a new show coming out called So Help Me Todd. A little play on words,
Yep.
Maybe nothing. I just think it's just interesting. The more and more we travel through time, that we're.
There's no shock that television programming is what it is.
Yeah,
it's always been that. Not always, but it's been like that for a lot longer than just the last couple of years.
Yeah, we went through the Leave It to Beaver stage. A lot of us remember some of the reruns are all the black and white shows. Then you move into the 70s and the Mary Tyler Moore shows, things like that. mean, in the late 80s, you're getting into like Cosby, Family Ties, things that are still wholesome and clean comedy.
And then here comes the Bundys.
And then here comes...
Seriously, Married with Children was like one of those first shows in the 90s to like really get provocative.
Yeah, they really were. And it's been...
I wasn't allowed to watch it as a kid.
Yeah.
This is why I watched it a bunch as an adult.
Yeah.
No, but for children's viewing, Married with Children was pushing it.
Yeah, it really
and,
was.
It
Well,
just
then you
good show
got
for
The
what it is.
Simpsons that came
Oh,
after
right.
that. And what
Family
was it,
Guy,
Family Guy
debuted in the late
Yeah.
90s, and the 90s really started to kind of lighten the reins, the FCC. I mean,
Yeah.
they still didn't allow a lot, but they were starting to kind of pull back. You know, it used to be only say certain curse words one time. Now you're allowed, like, I think if Walking Dead premieres with an episode of AMC, you're allowed like an F-bomb.
One
Yeah.
per show, per episode.
That was just unfathomable.
I know.
20
yeah.
years ago.
Yeah.
If you had an F word in it, it was an automatic R rating.
Oh yeah.
And it was
Correct.
only going to be on a paid channel like HBO or Showtime or something.
Yeah, and then Adult Swim came, and that was they did whatever they wanted.
Yeah, they sure did.
It's crazy to watch entertainment change so much, but recently it's been...
South Park, we can throw in theirs too.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
of course.
Of course.
Yeah.
I mean, they were. That was the show that like really pushed it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they were like,
Yeah.
They
what
literally
can we get away with?
Yeah, they literally have
Yeah.
like a receptionist lady. I think she's even like a co-writer. Forgot her name. It's always on the credits. And one of her multiple jobs is to call the FCC and read off the script word for word in like a serious voice. Yeah, so the guys wanted to know if they can say blah 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 blah. Okay, so you can say butthole, but not the butt, or something like that. And like, oh yeah, and she's just, you could tell like, and they're laughing at her. But
Yeah.
her serious job is to call the FCC and go, okay, what exactly is the line here? And yeah. And then, but ever since then, that line in the sand keeps getting
Yeah.
pulled back.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Yeah,
but now,
there's-
I mean,
there's no...
entertainment is what it is. You can go through multiple stations, and get your trans, gay, all that fix. And it's now overflowing into the holidays, except for Halloween.
That's a good point.
Yeah!
But I digress. It's not like you're a Christian and you can't enjoy Halloween. I'm not saying
Right.
that at all.
Oh, right. There's just a level of where it, it's like how evil can we get, and how much is it just enjoying the harvest time, and
Right.
that's always that is more of a touchy subject for Christians to talk about.
Oh, man, isn't
as
it ever.
to what is acceptable and what's not at Halloween.
Yeah, that and then you can even branch out and go, well, like Russell Wilson, the quarterback for the Denver Broncos, that came out that Travis Kelce kind of spilled the beans a little bit on his podcast, New Heights. Maybe one day. Maybe one day we'll reach that
We
level.
have a goal.
We're not nearly as handsome.
Just Kay. She's the
Just
only
Kay.
pretty one.
She's the pretty one. But he was talking about how Russ asked Travis, was like, hey, do you think people that watch Harry Potter go to hell? And Travis was like, I don't know, man. Just kind of laughed it off. And Russ goes, well, who's your favorite Harry Potter character? Hagrid. All right, man, I'll be praying for you. What are you doing? Man, what, seriously?
And Russell Wilson is known to
Russ
be a
is-
believer.
yeah,
But it's
and,
clear that he's into like this Pentecostal over the top.
And kudos to him. Apparently him and who's his wife. People are going to be cursing at me listening to this because I don't know it. What is her name?
I'll find that out, but you
Okay.
continue.
They made it very public and clear that they were celibate and totally abstained from sex until they got married.
Good on them.
Yeah, like that was. The integrity test. They only know for sure.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
But so I mean, he's got the morals and the principles, but it's a little over the top. When you ask someone who their favorite Harry Potter character is, you don't go, well, I'll be praying for you.
Yeah.
I read the books when I was a kid, like the first 2 or 3. My sister and I, a couple summers that the movies came out.
Ciara.
Ciara, thank you. We watched them, liked them as a kid because it was just cool. It was different. But
Yeah.
I didn't really get into it like a lot of people do. There's a lot of people who are just fanatics.
Can you tell me, Kay, can you just look at this picture of Sierra with Russell Wilson? She's wearing an open shirt, tux type of top with her front of her breast covered with something completely different. But you're gonna let your wife wear that in public, but you're gonna be worried about whether or not.
Being over the top.
Well, he can't control what his wife wears in public. That's highly sexist.
All right.
You laugh, but you're having snowballs thrown at you right now. I'm not even kidding. That's how sensitive everything is. Yeah. But because you, how dare you think that? No, man. If you have a banging body, if your body is like that of what we as society deem as the physically fit, pristine athletic conditioning of a body, that's a billboard. That's a billboard in a very sexually perverse society. And if you're leaving little to the imagination, their already perverse minds are filling in the blanks or little thereof. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I agree.
There's got to be a personal thing. Like, oh, come on, you don't just like that and go, oh, I know I'm getting looks.
Right.
Well, I'm going to take this. Just something that came up the other day. I talked to a gentleman who, it doesn't matter how I knew him. I'll fill you guys in after the podcast is over. But this is the conversation. We were just talking. I asked him how he was doing and how his family was, because I knew that he had several children and he had got a divorce. So he said good, and then kind of, but it's tough. Divorces are difficult, and he starts to talk to me about just kind of bringing up where his kids are with not attending. And when he starts to talk about his kids, he starts to share with me that a couple of the kids are not into it anymore. They're not going to church. And the further he goes, they're like getting further away. Like they're not just not going to church. Like they're throwing into atheism, renouncing their faith. A couple of them are into like really different religions now. And they're all under the age of 25. And then I find out what church he goes to. So I'm just like, well, where do you go? Like, why'd they run? And they go to a whole nother church that's very known for being a little bit crazy. And as soon as he started talking about some of the things that they were teaching, I immediately thought of Russell Wilson and this conversation that he had with Travis Kelce. And then we were talking about, he brought up and surfaced that the speaking of tongues in tongues is evident of a person being saved.
No, it's not.
And we know it's not. But there are a lot of people out there that believe it. I used to, because I was told that. But that's a lie. Because we know that the Word of God says that people have different gifts, and the tongues. There are people who listen to this podcast who don't believe in the continuation of gifts. That's a whole other story for another day, another topic for another day. But I do believe that there are, and there's reasons for this. But the main thing is, regardless of what you feel about the different gifts, they're not all assigned to the same people, and everybody gets different ones. And so nobody can have the same gift. So that goes against what Paul said in Corinthian letter anyway. And so it's just the more when people start talking this way, I'm like, it's your reason why people laugh at Christianity sometimes. Because if you go saying this to somebody, they're just like, where are you getting this garbage from?
Yeah. I mean, it runs into like, people look at it and go, okay, well, I have to sacrifice all of this to follow God, right? So it's like, okay, no Harry Potter or whatever, how stupid it sounds, right? But there's all these limitations that are set by these churches, and it's just hard for people to go, okay, well, yeah, I'll convert to Christianity, but now I can't.
Yeah, I think it all starts and ends with the youth and quote unquote leadership that is in churches today.
Yeah.
It ain't leadership. It's a joke. Because I can tell you from just experiencing it, when you're a kid, little, learning about Moses, Jesus catching the fish, Jonah, the typical Bible stories.
Yep.
Yeah.
Color the pictures,
Sing songs.
sing the songs, make the crafts.
Yeah.
This is great. Then you hit middle school, in the beginning of high school, and you start coming to, hey, my family's church, has a youth group, and we're doing this lock-in on Saturday. We really want you to
Right.
come. Like, I haven't been to church in like 10. Hey, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you come to church. Why don't you come hang out with us? Boom. Then you're walking in to God knows what they're feeding them.
Yeah.
And when you're a 12, 13, 14, 15, 16-year-old kid and you're walking into this and, some youth leader says, "Oh, if you're going to be a Christian, you can't watch Harry Potter,
Yeah.
Marvel movies. You need to stay away from." As a 14-year-old kid, I'm going to go, "I'm not following anything that
I
can
know, right?
not watch Iron Man."
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I
Because
do.
at the heart, that has nothing to do with Christianity.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you start stipulating and making these rules and guidelines, and then what happens? You go to school. Did you know that these freakazoids had me come over and
Yeah,
walk
right.
in, and they told me that I'm going to hell because I watch Harry Potter?
Yeah.
Are you serious? What a bunch of freaks!
And then it just
Wildfire.
Yep.
There you go.
Absolutely.
There's the problem. That's where we have to start and fix it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have a trend of that. That's why I'm so not for being a youth pastor. As far as just a specific youth pastor only, I think it's
Yeah.
a bad idea. I think you have people who can help the youth, and I think you have to integrate that in there. And I think you have to be very particular. You can't have a warm body approach.
Leaders
Yeah, absolutely.
amongst the youth.
And that's absolutely right. And so I'm not saying
They're looking for someone.
I'm
Follow
not saying that a person
Christ,
who's
but you've got to be the shepherd.
and it might be a youth pastor who nails his job and does a really good job of it, and that's awesome. Okay, but I'm saying is that we've raised this church movement.
I see what you're saying. Like, it's that vacant role in administration at the church. We got to have a youth pastor.
Yeah.
And then you
that's where it ends.
just bring somebody in.
Yeah.
And the guy walks in with a seashell necklace, and
Yeah.
he's drinking a Red Bull Light, and he's
I'll
got
be
to be
knocking
hip.
sugar-free Red Bull.
I'm not.
Come on now.
It's because I'm drinking Celsius, which has zero
Celsius
calories.
is healthy Red Bull.
Gotcha.
It doesn't make me all hyped up on Mountain Dew.
That was
Bull,
the
it's 200
interesting
milligrams
part
of caffeine.
of our tribe. Because I'd go and there'd be like 10. My old church, like there was like 10 minutes where they would talk about the Bible. And I'm pretty sure that would include worship, which they did. 3 songs, so it was a short message. But the rest of the time was filled with like games and like, the most important aspect was making sure they had fun at church.
Right.
But then I look at what we do here, and it's an an hour and a half, and all we talk about is scripture. And those kids are at the edge of their seat. They're just like, I want to know everything, because when I go to school and people are talking to me about this, like, how do I respond? What do I say?
You're not teaching any kid anything by having a who can hold the egg in a spoon
Right.
race. Oh, and there are some freaking nasty ones out there that some of these people have
Yeah,
pulled.
I think we talked about
yeah,
it.
we did a
Yeah.
while back. I remember one where they bought a bunch of those little. It reminds me of like the 50-cent machines and the little plastic ball that would hold the stickers. Those plastic balls that are filled with pantyhose. You know what I'm talking about? Like you
Okay.
buy them at Walmart or
Oh
something.
yeah, I remember this.
Yeah, they bought a bunch of them. And the game was you put pantyhose over your head and you try to slurp applesauce, through a bowl. So you got a bowl of applesauce and you have pantyhose on your head, and your objective was the first one. I'm not even kidding you.
Wow.
And I remember telling Dad, like, yeah, that's what we did. He's like, what? And that is a very reputable Christian church today. In that building. So it happens all over the place in very reputable places. So, you're not doing anything for the kid. You're just giving them a weird memory to talk about when he's
Right.
31 years old on a podcast.
I was
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's all you're
to that
doing.
point, I was having coffee one day with a guy that helps us with our youth, kind of advises us with some things. Does a youth conference every year, really cool.
Yep.
But we met at this coffee shop, and these ladies sat down, and it's not a very big place, so they were really within earshot. They apologized for being loud, and he and I were still able to conversate. It wasn't a big deal, but I was like, no, you're fine. And she goes, we're just, and she made some, I don't know, she made some reference, and he's like, no, it's okay. We're just talking about youth programs for churches. And he threw that out there, and she goes,
gosh.
Oh, that's great. So you guys are youth pastors. So we straighten her out and explain what we do. And then I said, yeah. She goes, well, what church is that? And I tell her, it's just down the street here. She goes, my kids went there and they had a bad experience. And I was like, oh, really? And she goes, yeah, they just didn't enjoy it. I mean, they want to come in and they want to have fun. And I was just automatically like, I on the outside, I'm just probably smiling at her with a little smirk and going, I get you. And, I made no appeal to fix it. On the inside, I'm like, that's why your kids are going to be raging, I want to say something that they shouldn't be doing, but you know what I mean. They're going to fall away from Christ,
right?
Because that's your approach.
Well,
that's your stupid approach.
Yeah.
That even before, calling out the kids. If you want to have fun, take your kid to the local community center and sign up for the freaking PAL basketball league in the wintertime.
Absolutely.
Right.
That's where you go and have fun.
Yeah.
What's the mentality? This is a righteous, holy, perfect God. You don't come in here to have the time of your life. You come in here and you best give him acceptable worship.
Right.
Because that's what he's looking for. And you can go through all the templates and do everything with no heart in it, and all you're doing is making him even more. You're taking off and consuming fire.
But that's not even what they want anymore. The kids, and to your exact point, they're hungry for the gospel.
They don't want it anymore because no one's telling them.
Right.
So when you tell them the gospel, that's what they're hungry for.
You know what your problem in life is? You.
Yeah, I wanted to tell him that. I wanted to tell her it so bad.
No,
it was so
that for
hard
everybody.
Yeah.
That's why the Bible is the most offensive book ever written, because it makes you the villain.
Yeah.
Yeah, really.
You're the problem.
Well,
unless you acknowledge that and submit to him, it ain't going to change.
But it really showed me, that gal that day showed me.
Oh yeah, Dad. That's
that is
good on you for not being a smart butt, and saying
Yeah.
well, it's
So
for
hard.
crying out loud, ma'am. It's church, not community center.
Yeah,
But at the same time, you have to meet people where they're at.
I get that, and we do talk about that, and I wanted to. I just looked at her and I said, well, maybe they'll give it a try again, and I left it at that.
There you go.
And he knew he's been here and he knows what we do and he knows the dynamic, and I'm just like, what do you do with that? But I actually used it as a great talking point. I said, that's the
Sorry,
that's okay. It was a really cool sound. That sounded like Mega Man.
it was Mega Man.
Oh, sweet. But I looked at him and I was like, that's exactly the reason why we do things the way we do. Because I said, that is what we don't want to fall into. But yeah, you know what? With youth programs, I tell you what, if you just share with them the word, and I commend anybody out there who does it. And if you're involved in youth, just start teaching them the word of God. You'd be surprised how they flock to it.
Yeah.
And don't be surprised when they don't come back.
Yeah.
Parable of the sower.
And that's fine. That's
You
fine.
planted a seed, and you never know. That seed might germinate 15, 20, 25 years
Exactly.
from when you did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
We have game nights. And, we have
And
fun
those
nights.
are so important. That's
are.
not to
They
say
are.
that we're all business and
Oh,
no,
right.
you have nights where you come and you watch Elf.
Right.
You come and you play some rummy.
Oh, dude, I want to do the laser tag arena. We can move
Yeah.
it in our sanctuary.
Oh heck yeah.
How cool would that be?
Yeah. Mhm.
We can move our chairs.
That's game night or activity night.
Right.
That's not tribe night.
Yeah.
And
it-
that's just for kids, not
And-
adults.
No, that's for the adults.
yeah,
Kids are
the laser tag. But a lot of
go.
a lot of that gives the kids opportunity to invite people that wouldn't
Yeah,
normally come.
exactly.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, we're gonna watch a movie. It'll be real chill. You just come, and so
which
like,
does bring a lot of
yeah.
friends.
This last one,
Yeah.
there was like 6 new people just showed up.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just awesome that they're willing to share.
Yeah.
Their love that they have for this place and what we do, and
Kind of
just
that
extend it.
outreach.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And we pray that they come back. And
right.
several of those kids have come back at least again.
yeah.
Yep.
All right, guys, I want to bring up another topic tonight for you to see what you guys think about this one. Here is the headline, and I'll read the first small paragraph afterwards. Ohio teacher told principal using students' preferred pronouns violated her religion. She was forced to resign. A former Ohio middle school teacher said she was forced to resign after she told her boss that she would not address students by their preferred pronouns because it violates her religious beliefs.
There was the same exact case in the state, and they awarded in favor of the teacher. So
Well,
keep going.
the teacher,
this is
Vivian-
reoccurring across this nation.
Yep, the teacher, Vivian Garrigdy, is now suing Jackson Memorial Middle School's principal, the Board of Education, and 2 district employees. She worked there as an English teacher, and her resignation on August 26th. Before her departure, she said she taught her class while remaining consistent with her religious practices and scientific understanding concerning human identity, gender, and sex. States a federal lawsuit filed on Monday. So she lost her job because she would not agree to using a different pronoun for a kid. That when they decided to fire her, she is taking that to court. And exactly right, Zach, you brought it up. Ohio is a representation of the same exact thing that happened already. And we're going to start seeing it in every state. So,
If we haven't already, this is just making news.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I started a new job at a hospital in town, and you can put your pronouns on your email, your signature, so people know what to call you. And I'm just... Okay. You are in the world, not of it.
No, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
I'm not going to bow down. I'm not going to succumb to this. If you want me to call you by a pronoun, it's not happening. I'll call you it. Because you don't even know what you are.
Yeah.
There. So now you're an object. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No.
Well, if we don't stand our ground, then who will?
Right.
It's
Absolutely.
never been done this. It's never been down this road before.
Take the
No.
Yeah.
insults. Take the shots. I mean, even if it goes to social media, big freaking deal. Everyone forgets about it in a week anyway.
Yeah, right.
It's Operation Overload every time you get on there, man. You know,
Yeah.
try to remember 75% of the stuff that you scroll through every day.
We're more worried about not offending somebody than to speak our minds about it.
Yeah.
It's been doing that. We've been doing this for a while now, and yeah, I don't see how people can lose their job over that. No,
I can't believe it. Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
Yep.
I was
Forcing
going to say,
people
even
into that.
the whole transgender thing, I mean, going from a man to a woman, they don't even know. I mean, God give you who you are.
They don't know because they're mentally off.
You think that's it?
It's got to
totally,
be.
because I'm
yeah.
like,
The brains don't match the
it's
plumbing.
it's a dysphoria,
It
and it's a
is.
real thing that we
And
have
not
to work
only
through.
not only are they mentally off, but we're in a society now that gives you more attention, more love, more respect for doing something like that. So if you
Yep.
come from a broken home
see, and I was,
where everyone ignored you and everyone made fun of you, and all of a sudden that you can do this radical change, and you want
Yeah.
a radical change because your life sucks
and you have control over
and you're
your
miserable
body and
everything.
and now you can, you
and everything
can do all
that's
this.
normal you
Yeah.
hate. So now I'm going to jump over here on this side where they all love me. And it's glittery and sparklery and rainbowy and everything's over here.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah. And let's ask Kay a question. So you're as a woman, are you? I don't mean you personally, but yeah, I kind of do this as you personally. Are you going to be? If a guy walks in dressed as a woman into the locker room of the local Y, does it bother you?
Yeah,
And what is the reason? What are the big
Because-
reasons why it bothers you?
because God made him a man, and he is a man.
So it's a thing for you that you're a woman and you want to be able to respect and retain what God has made you.
Yes.
And so when a guy is dressing
Absolutely.
up like you see where I'm
Yes.
going?
Yes,
I'm just curious that
even with all the sports and everything else. I mean, there's that whole physical thing of a man is.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just his body is designed differently than a woman's, so he can do the sports. And then when you put them in with a woman, of course they're going to win. They're going to get the goal
Yeah.
of
It's not to say
everything.
women can't be athletic and be
Right.
superior in a certain sport.
Right,
But when you put a cream of the crop athletic woman
right,
against a cream of the crop athletic man,
yeah,
Right.
you're biologically so much different.
yeah,
I mean, it's a David versus Goliath. I mean, that's not to say some women can't pull off the upset.
Right.
You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Oh, of course, but that's not designed that way. And more times than not, that man's gonna crush because the bone structure and everything else.
Right.
Guys, I think this honestly has everything to do with our just total failure in screwing up of understanding what sex is.
Oh yeah.
Well,
You
and
have
then,
sex to
just
reproduce.
The article. I mean, even the teacher, she wants to call him he, she, but the school doesn't. So I mean, the school has the power over all these children to tell them that they can be
Yeah,
whatever it is that they want to be.
Yeah. Biology doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and you don't have to follow science or logical reasoning. And we've been talking about this sports thing, and it's funny because a lot of people are finally realizing, like, okay, yeah, there might be some truth to that. You understand what I'm saying?
They're built
There is
Physically
a
faster
difference.
and
Physically,
stronger
right.
most of the time. Like Zach gave that analogy.
Yeah. And there's always that example of like the women's U.S. soccer team like faced against, it was like 15-year-old male soccer players, and they got crushed, And so I think people are coming to that realization, and then you have this kind of like, you were talking about a lot of people coming out and being more vocal about it, right? And I think people are just realizing, like, if no one's going to say something, then it's just not going to get fixed. And if I'm not defending what I believe in, nothing's going to change. And that's why people are I think more and more are being open about it and willing to talk about their faith and where they stand.
Well, and it's such an interesting thing because if you're talking about somebody of faith and you, like, let's say you post a statement discrediting the trans movement, there's going to be people not thrilled with what you say, and they're going to be like, how they react to what you say doesn't matter. If you're going to say it, you say it no matter what.
Right.
But what you're saying is you're going to stand on a biblical principle that God made women and men, end of story. Mm-hmm. And like Zach said, they're there to procreate. Without women and men getting together,
Right.
None of us are sitting around this table tonight, and nobody's listening to because you don't exist
Right.
without the procreation involved.
Right.
If we all go gay today, the entire human race is dead within 100 years.
Yep. Absolutely.
So there's that. Well, we're going to see more of that, but I just thought that was crazy. I'm like, man, good for you, lady. Go sue him.
Yeah. Stand firm in what you
Yeah.
believe. Yeah.
Good for her.
Gage, you had a topic you were going to bring up tonight. What was that?
Yeah. So, since it is Christmas time, the article I found was on New York Times, and it says, "Oh, come all ye faithful, except when Christmas falls on a Sunday." So she's not a believer, but she's kind of making fun of Christians for this idea of Christmas is all about Jesus Christ and it's all about the Savior being born, but they're not going to have church on Christmas. And it's just interesting, like, how, even the people who don't believe are noticing that Christians kind of say one thing but do the other.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we do.
We do. And, it got me wondering, like, what would cause you to close the church, right? It's like, a tornado, right? Like, I'd think that'd be a good time to not have church. But having, Christmas falls on Sunday, like, I don't think that's a big deal. Having church coming in a Sunday. And I was reading some other stuff, and some churches can't afford to stay open for that day, or their staff's going somewhere else, right? Or something
So
like that,
you're
right?
talking about like actual Christmas Day landing on a Sunday.
On Sunday, yeah. And then then they wake up and go, we're not gonna stay open.
Well,
Shouldn't that be like the church's Christmas gift?
absolutely.
That Christmas Day lands on Church Day.
Once every
Yeah.
7 years.
Shouldn't that be like the number one reason to get your butt to church?
Yeah, right.
Don't close it down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, if you're a
understand.
megatropolis or whatever, and you've got staffing issues, then buddy boy, that's on you.
Yeah.
But on every other church, like, no, it's Christmas, so since it's a holiday, we
and I
gonna
wanna
close down. No, you're
spend it
not
with-
open them doors.
I know. They're like, well, we want to spend it with family. It's like, okay,
Bring them to church.
come to church, and then you can have it.
Exactly.
Right after.
As a pastor, I'm not
Unbelievable.
obviously going to be staying at home on Christmas Day, and we have Christmas Eve the night before. We have our Sunday or our Christmas Eve service.
Yeah, we're gonna have two services in 15 hours of each other. So there you go.
Yeah, and the only thing we are doing is doing one morning service. Normally we have two. We are doing one because
Oh,
we
you
know
mean
that-
we're actually going to do the way the church should be done?
precisely.
One service.
Yep,
On
one
Sundays.
service.
Uno.
The church should be one service every Sunday morning, every Sunday night, and then whenever else they want to do something. But it brings
Because
all people together. So everybody
Divides the people.
When
Yeah.
you have separate services, it divides the
The
people.
contemporaries of the second service crowd miss out on the elder wisdom from the first.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the first service crowd misses out on that reinvigorating fountain of life and youth that comes
Yeah.
from the younger crowd. It's a beautiful mix.
It
It's a
really
beautiful concoction. Every village in this world that isn't the United States of America has its elders with the youngest.
Yeah.
They just do because they're so. Come on, you've got a new human being so fresh to this life, to someone who's been scarred, who's gone through the
Right.
grieving process, who's
Yeah.
done this,
Yep.
and has this love. Come on, there's so much to be gained, and we literally divide it.
Yeah. Well, and I look at other churches that do 2 services as well, and a lot of times it's the older crowd comes first.
It is.
Second.
They're the early birds.
younger comes second.
Yeah.
And then they look at it and go, "Well, second's our biggest service, so we're going to focus on the younger people and kind of forget about the older crowd." And I remember for a while there was just a bunch of older people coming to our church because they're like, "Yeah, our pastor, they said we're not worried about you guys anymore. We want to focus on the younger crowd." And there was a bunch of people that started coming
Honestly,
because of that reason.
most people in that crowd could probably preach and give advice on the word better than the pastor could.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, so on that point, last week I had my class. On my Thursday day class, I teach apologetics, Christian apologetics. Most of the people that attend that are over the age of 60. Not going to lie. Some of them are in their 70s, some of them are in their 80s. But they really dig it, and they really do feed you a lot. I mean, it's. I don't mean food. I mean, you feed your soul. I told them that I had canceled or was postponing the Tuesday night evening one so that I could lecture through the book of Revelation, get done with class. 2 of the ladies that always attend come walking over to me. Both of them told me that previously they had taught through the book of Revelation, one of them twice and one of them once, to their women's group 30 years ago and 20 years ago. And I looked at both of them. I'm like, "You're kidding me." And they're like, "Nope, taught through that twice back in when they used to let me teach." And then they walked away. And I'm like, "How have we let you sit on the sidelines?"
Yeah. Right.
But that's the problem with the church today. The modern church
Right.
has shoved all the older people aside, and they've even told some of them that we're not focusing on you anymore. What the heck is that? That's where all
Yeah.
the wisdom is. Oh, and by the way, they're consistent tithers. Last time and I don't even know what people give, but I know I always see the older people going up, throwing something in the dish.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, why are you alienating that? And I'm not talking. It would be fitting that I bring up the money thing, but that's the point of that.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
would.
Right.
Dang it! But you know what I mean. Like, why would you?
Yeah.
Why would you squander all of that? The blessing of the wisdom that comes with it. I mean, these churches that are doing this to the older crowd are also the ones clamoring for money.
Yeah. They're taking huge loans, and then
Yes,
every Sunday it's like, make sure you give. Or every Sunday's message is about
What
giving.
do you think the older people do?
Yeah.
They always tithe. Why are you alienating them?
Yeah.
Yeah, if that's your problem, yeah, it's
Idiot!
But yeah, like you said, that all that wisdom, and they could be the ones teaching better than this pastor. And
Yep.
we're going through Hebrews, and that's all it's talking about is, not getting lax in your faith and being that person that they can look to. And I thought I thought that's so great.
It is. It's a beautiful book. Well, like a month ago, Kay surfaced something she wanted to bring up. And I thought it was an intriguing point. Like, you have probably done a little bit more understanding of it now.
I have. I've probably gone way overboard, but not just for the podcast, just for myself.
Good. Good for you. Way to research the Word of God.
Yeah.
All right. Share us. What
Well, it started out with a question from Got Questions. Yeah, I get those-
GotQuestions.org, which
That's it, yes.
is questionable at some of their answers, but for the most part, they're pretty solid.
All right. So this was the first question. Question was, what is the judgment seat of Christ? So I was reading through that, and then got down to this part that the next question was, what are the 5 heavenly crowns that believes that we can receive in heaven? And so between those two questions, it just really intrigued me, and kind of give me a whole new perspective, you might say, in regards to what are crowns, and what are we receiving in heaven when we go to that judgment day, after passing. And I guess I just never thought about it before, but after looking and going from the different verses and everything else that I've researched, it's like, so the five crowns is the rejoicing crown, the imperishable crown, the crown of righteousness, the crown of life, and the crown of glory. And if you ever take the time just to look those up, it's just, and reading it is just amazing.
All right, so let's back up to let me ask you this question. So the 5 crowns that are referred to, most of them by Paul. Paul referred to most of them. So what is your big takeaway, that there are different crowns you get when you enter heaven, or is it that he's calling it by something different every time?
So what I got from this was that when you die and you go up there, and of course, yes, you're judged on your sins, but you're also forgiven because of Jesus dying for us. So therefore, you account for your life here on earth in regards to what you have done. And for whatever it is that you have done, through whether the glory, being righteousness, giving of yourself, the accounts here on earth. And when you go up to heaven and you're accounting for your life, these are the crowns that you can be crowned with. Again, God's decision based on what?
It's based on your obedience. Based on it's not a matter about what, you're not held accountable because you're cleansed, you're made righteous in front of God because of the atonement of Christ on the cross for your sins.
Yeah.
But then it's based on what you have done. And so it's not like I think a lot of times then what we do is I thought that God questions, and when you brought this question up to me, I did look into it a little bit. I know that there's levels. They're not different. There's not 5 different crowns we could get. I don't believe that one bit.
Okay.
I believe that what Paul is referring to are 5 different points. Righteousness and glory are all considered something that God bestows upon us, that we're credited when we walk into his presence. So we're going to get a crown. And yeah, absolutely, we can be, I guess, rewarded more for, like, I'm held to a higher accountability because I'm a shepherd of a flock. But like, let's say Zach and Gage, you guys both like hunker down and you resist every sexual temptation, 99% accuracy. You're just able to go through, and the stuff that used to really get to you doesn't get to you anymore. You're credited with your righteousness. God notices when you did, but also remind you of this. When you look at this from an Armenian standpoint, that we chose salvation, and but we're going to be graded on how we do, then it takes all the sovereignty of God out. That's why I say the 5 crowns are all the same. There can be certain levels, but God's already got that planned. He already knows everything you've ever done in your life. That's what makes him sovereign. So when we take it back and go, well, I know I did this, then it goes right back to what we do for him.
Yeah.
If Christianity is not about climbing a step ladder, and how many gold stars you get, then there's no reason to base our achievements on. I'm not getting a cooler crown because you 3 because I'm somehow a pastor and I get better credit.
Right.
No, I'm just as smudgy ridiculous. That's why I say I'll shine shoes and wash dishes if there's jobs like that in heaven, because that's what I want to do, because that's humility.
Yeah.
So you see where I'm getting at? Sure. So I think when the God questions people, some of the stuff And I don't mean just got questions. I think the guy answered as good as he can, and I thought he did a good job. But it makes us start to wonder, oh, I can get rewarded more by the good I do. Well, you better, you moron. You know what I mean? I'm being simplistic by saying that, but you've got to do something. You have a responsibility.
Yeah. It's like if you're a person that puts your opinion out there regardless of who you hurt and you don't care, well, and it talks about it in here, then maybe you practice on trying not to do that. And
shouldn't be doing that anyway because
Right.
you should be exuding the 9 fruit of the Spirit.
Exactly. And so I think this is just good rules to
yeah,
live by.
yeah.
And how they put it, and then when you read through the verses and everything else, it really sheds a whole different light on just being a better follower
Yeah.
of Christ.
Well, and you become a more obedient follower of Christ.
Yeah.
And that's the key. Paul talks about this on and on. What does he say at the very end of his life? He says, I finished the race. I fought the good fight. I did the best I can. It's up to God now.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
We no longer sit and, you don't think Paul messed up a lot more even after he was saved? Mm-hmm. Our charges to not sin. It doesn't mean that we're not going to be tempted and not fall
Right.
into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was very challenging for me. And like I said, it took about a month or so just of different research to go through this.
And you read the word more
And
because of it.
I did.
And
yeah.
see, then you were wildly blessed because
Oh,
of that.
totally. I was very, very blessed. And to actually be able to just to write it down, even though you can read it out loud, it helps me to write it down too.
Sure.
Because, it just does. And it shows you all the difference that reading can make as far as hearing his word and then just reminiscing on it.
Well, these two
Amazing.
boys who are right and left obviously can tell you about what God has done in their lives because of the time they've spent in the Word.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Humility. I want to bring this up.
Perfect, because I'm going to put you all on the spot.
Please do.
I hope we all know why we take communion. So, you're going to have the table of the Almighty where you are supposed to cleanse yourself because you are entering to the presence of the righteous,
Right.
the holy, the perfect, the consuming fire. How do we, as believers of this church who have this understanding, and with reverent fear, worship him? How do we go about addressing an issue when two females want to hold hands and partake in the covenant of everlasting life? Or two males? It's a publicity stunt, sure. To get attention, sure. But no. This doesn't need to fly. And how do we handle this? With humility, kindness, love, gentleness, and respect.
Great question. My first answer to you is the person who takes communion, the Word of God actually tells us that if the person takes communion
I know you're going with this.
and they are doing it inappropriately, that they are unrepentant
Yep.
and they are unregenerate, then they are sowing upon themselves a curse larger than what we think is even humanly possible. Which means anybody who is in a false church taking
Absolutely.
false
Correct.
communion
Uh-huh.
are taking upon themselves a curse that they do not want to really know what's going to happen.
The point is that this is a very important aspect of our faith. There is no Christianity without this. There is none.
Yeah.
It's the ultimate sacrifice.
It is.
It's the sacrifice that we all deserve to take upon ourselves.
Yeah.
We, not even to take upon ourselves, we deserve that to happen to us. I don't care how little or how much you sin in your life. We all deserve that.
Yep.
So the perfect Son of God who takes all that, and you are going to re-crucify him
Right.
with your insolent, disgusting behavior. Shame on you.
So, and then let's narrow that down. What are you going to read?
1 Corinthians 11:27. So whoever therefore eats the bread or drinks the cup of the Lord in an unworthy manner will be guilty concerning the body and blood of the Lord. And
I laugh because God's taking care of it.
Yeah,
Right.
there it is.
But, and I understand that the Lord does, but how do we, as people of the congregation, do we just sit there and allow it and go, oh, it sucks to be you, man?
yeah,
Or do we politely go, stop?
I think we do have to address it. I think when it comes to something like this, I mean, you know, I don't want to.
Hold hands in the church down the hallway. Sit next to whatever.
Yeah.
If it makes you feel
But
better.
if you're going to go up and take communion,
Correct.
you have to be in the right mindset. And you know, I'm going to say something I might cut out, but you know, something that always bothered me in our church is, you know, not that it's any disrespect, but there's a lot of talking. I hate the singing in the videos. Because
Agreed.
the words, I don't need the words. I need quiet
distracting.
time. Maybe something beautiful in the background. But this is my time to, you know, I am entering in his presence, and like this is a very
As
important
supernaturally as we possibly can.
time. Yeah, this is
And up here.
right.
Yeah.
And everything I lay out on, you know, and then you go up and everybody's like, hey, how you doing? You know, and
I'm not going to lie. When I first started coming to church, I caught myself talking to my sister and then
yeah, I-
elevate, and then all of a
I
sudden
do
we're
too.
laughing, and I'm like,
I know it.
Shoot.
I'm
I
like,
gotta
I'm not
be quiet right now.
I'm not going to
But
take
guess
it.
what? As you grow with him
Right.
and as he builds you, all of a sudden these gears start clicking and you start understanding things that just didn't necessarily make sense yesterday.
Right.
And,
And-
you're convicted of it.
Yeah.
Well, think about this too. When this is such a charge, and I know we've heard this, but think about when you're bringing up communion. I want to answer your question, but I want to show when Zach was talking about the fear and the reverence before God. Here's why. Because there's a respect. We have a respect and a love for God. And so we should approach his throne and approach communion with a fearful heart. By fearful, meaning we love you. We're paying homage to you. We're paying respect to you. So think about what he said here in Mark 14. This is Jesus speaking when he says, and as they were eating, he took bread. Jesus took bread. And after blessing it, broke it and gave it to them and said, take this. This is my body. And he took a cup, and when he had given thanks to Father, he gave it to them, and they all drank of it. And he said to them, this is my blood of the covenant, which is poured out for many. Truly I say to you, I will not drink again. And this will not happen again until the kingdom of God comes. But the point is, he was getting ready to pour himself out on that cross. And what Zach's bringing up is the respect that we should adore him with this. And to your point, when people walk up like that, making a showcase of it, it happens, unfortunately, in some churches.
We ain't the only ones dealing with it.
No, we're not. But how do we deal with it? Well, that falls firmly at the feet of the pastor. So welcome to my world. But I have
But
to.
does it?
Yeah, it does, because if I
Not okay. With all due respect, maybe sure.
that's your way of always saying I'm a jack.
With all due respect, that's my
Yeah.
phrase.
And I think I understand like some churches, you know, but other churches that I know personally, right? Somebody else goes up there and does the elder meditation.
Yeah.
You know,
So
there's
this-
other people to help you, and that's their job. That's why they're there. You know, if they're not doing it,
Yeah, but there have been people before sitting right behind leadership, and they're like looking at their Instagram page during my sermon, and nobody says a word to them. And I'm like,
True.
I love the people that browse Facebook, DraftKings, fantasy football lineups, texting, whatever. Then someone calls them out on it. But come on, man. Like, if you're going to be on your phone during church and then someone calls you out on it, you probably shouldn't be on your phone during church. I mean, okay, I look at my phone, vibrate, pocket,
yeah,
take it out in an hour.
Right.
If it's going off constantly, like it did the night he got out of the yard, I say he because my dog's sitting next to me. Say hi, James.
Jinger's the blue pit bull.
I was in a place where I had to not be on my phone, and my phone was like just constantly. I finally answered, he's like, "Yeah, you got a blue pit." I'm like, "What?" So
Yeah, right.
I understand things happen, but put the phone away.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, some people do have the Bible app.
Yeah, but bring a paperback Bible.
There's one under every single chair in the sanctuary.
Yeah.
Bring your own. Bring your own. And they're like, well, I use my Bible. No, but that's the thing. If it's on
Blue
your
light's
phone,
bad for you.
That's right. Yeah.
and you have more of a chance to doing something else. If you're reading the Bible app and a text message comes across, you're going to leave the Bible app and go check your text message. If you're reading your Bible, you're going to put your phone aside for a few minutes
Right.
at home. So don't give me that. Don't use your phone app at
Why don't
church.
you treat the sanctuary like you would the most important job meeting of your life?
Right.
Oh, God. Are you going to be on your phone during that? Didn't think so. You're entering in the presence of the Almighty, man. Show some respect.
I love
And
that.
if you don't have it today, I pray you got it tomorrow.
And I'm going to put
Absolutely.
that one in my hip pocket.
Yeah, that was good.
That's some ammo.
Which one? What
Taking it to a job interview. You're
Yeah.
not going to do that.
No.
Yeah.
No, you're not. Or how about this? How about with...
The most important job interview of your life.
Exactly. Or how about this when Buffalo Miami played, and Tyler Bass, Mr. Ronda Bass, goes out there for the game-winning field goal, and all of his teammates are brushing the snow off to give him a... You think any of those Bills... Okay. They were on their phone to record it. You think any of them were checking email, scrolling through Facebook?
Yeah.
Where was their attention? On that kick.
Right.
Yeah.
Come on. You know what I'm talking about,
yeah.
people. Well, have that same exact gumption and energy and attitude towards the Lord Almighty who's going to save you from the pit of hell.
Amen.
Yeah.
I dig
I
that.
love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where the white women at? Just kidding. Cut that one out.
No, don't cut that one out.
Where the white women at?
Blazing Saddles. You remember that? Yeah.
But yeah, I had the honor of doing a sermon, and
Heck yeah.
that was kind of my point.
Did
is that-
amazing, by the way.
I appreciate it,
Yeah.
of course. But yeah, that was kind of my main point, is that Christ is reflected in our actions and what we do. So if we're not taking this seriously, no one else is going to take it seriously. And then you sit there and you look at, why don't people understand? I'm not getting the respect I deserve, or like this lady, she's fired because of what she believes.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
half of people who claim that they're Christian are taking this as a joke.
Absolutely.
And it's just so loose and
Well, and she can't be the only one in that whole entire school
right.
that thinks what
just
she's
the-
thinking.
she's the
She's
one
just
that's-
the one in the position where
Yeah.
people pull the strings and can decide whether or not you have a job.
She's the one that stood up.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
What's that quote from DC Talk song? The number one cause of atheism today is Christians who acknowledge Jesus with their lips, but deny him with their lifestyle.
Yep.
It's what an unbelieving world simply finds unbelievable.
Beautiful.
Now, it's heavy.
Yeah.
What's the problem with Christianity? Christians themselves, they're Grandpa Rock's favorite line, right? Because, a lot of Catholic blood in our family. Mm-hmm. But it's very, at the serious level of which we need to take this, we also can't elevate ourselves on a pedestal because we're still people and we're going to fail. And then when we fail him to the core, we're going to fail him again once more.
Yep.
We're going to consistently do it. It's building upon it, and allowing people to see the change within you, and just being that lighthouse, that beacon of light to bring those ships in from the harbor.
Yeah. Yeah, your grandfather, by the way, came from a Jewish family. Now, they denied that vehemently, but they were
and
Jewish.
then
They
married
became
Catholic.
But he married Catholic to get away from the Baptists and the Pentecostals that were in his family. So
Yeah, Gramps had quite the gamut.
yeah, he was the black sheep for sure. For sure.
Hey guys, after not doing this for a while, good talk tonight.
Yeah, it was a good talk tonight. I enjoyed our topics. And thanks for bringing up the thing about humility with communion.
I just thought I'd put you guys on the spot because it's relevant and it's something that we're all dealing with. And if you haven't dealt with it yet, you're going to.
Yeah.
It's going to come and knocking.
Well, and I like when you kind of do the advocate side. You kind of do a devil's advocate in a right way, where you're challenging us to something that we need to sit down and seriously have a conversation about, and surfacing issues that a lot of churches are seeing today, and they don't know what to do. They don't know how to handle it. And a lot of times, people are walking in, 2 girls, 2 guys, they're holding hands, and they're only doing this in the church to get a rise out of the people in it. So how does the church respond?
We look at him and say, "Hey, good morning, welcome to church."
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
And you
Well,
look him in the eye, you smile, say, "Hey, good morning, good to see you."
glad
And you
you're
move
here.
on. You ignore it, and
right.
you just like the plague.
Yep. And I think it would be funny is if I walked up and I offered to pray in tongues over them. I just because I brought up
because it's radio, but he did start laughing.
Yeah, I did. I was just being funny. It's being funny. Well,
Merry Christmas, everybody.
yeah, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to you. We'll be back at the first of the year with more Freaks of the Vine. And now that I think we've got a better set schedule, we'll be doing these, pumping these out. We got some interviews lining up, and I'm really excited about or are getting lined up. But they're not ones that I'll do by myself, you guys. Ones that we can have people on the other end of the phone with us.
Sweet.
So that'll be good for us to be able to have some chatter.
Awesome.
And studio guests, and as always, if it's just the 4 of us, boom. When are we going to film these things?
Yep. Yep.
So
Is he like
we're working on
Gage's
it.
answer there, Zach? Yep.
Yep.
Working on it.
That's a good idea.
All right. Well, for everybody here, Freaks of the Vine, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.